What begins as a college field trip turns into a discovery the founding fathers buried on purpose. Hidden inside Benjamin Franklin's desk is a trail of ciphers, vaults, and ancient knowledge older than America itself. Knowledge powerful enough to reshape nations if uncovered. As 3 students race from Independence Hall to Monticello, they must decide whether history's greatest secret was meant to be revealed or protected at all costs. It began as a college field trip, a routine history assignment that turned into the discovery of a lifetime. Ethan Cole, a history major with a quiet obsession for colonial cryptography, lingered in front of Benjamin Franklin's original writing desk longer than the rest of his class. The oak gleamed under museum lights, its surface polished to a near mirror finish, but something about it felt alive, as though centuries of ink and ambition still whispered beneath the varnish. His friends, Lila Park, a computer science prodigy who could see code in anything, and Marcus Shaw, a loudmouth history buff who saw conspiracies in everything, were supposed to be helping him with their capstone project on hidden communication in the American Revolution. Instead, Marcus was recording a video for his blog, narrating about founding fathers hiding alien blueprints in furniture. Lila rolled her eyes behind her glasses. Weeks earlier, Ethan had took note of a forgotten entry in Franklin's personal journals. I kept that which is closest to me, hidden where thought meets work, a reminder that not all secrets are written in ink. Most scholars dismissed it as a metaphor. Ethan didn't. He spent most nights poring over Franklin's letters, convinced the man's wit often doubled as camouflage for something deeper. Now standing before the desk, he noticed faint scratches along the underside, markings too deliberate for wear, too subtle for repair. He crouched, running a finger beneath the drawer's ridge. "Listen," he murmured. "The echo isn't solid oak." Marcus knelt beside him, tapping. "Hollow." "Either Franklin was bad at carpentry," he said, "or we just hit history's jackpot." Lila folded her arms, glancing toward the museum guard. "You two were one noise away from federal prison." But Ethan was already turning the brass inkwell, an ornate piece shaped like a lightning bolt. It resisted at first, then gave way with a click. A soft mechanical hum followed, and a section of the writing surface slid open, like a whisper from the past. Dust whirled, the scent of old parchment filled the air. Inside rested a brass compass, tarnished, but still gleaming faintly, engraved with the Freemason's all-seeing eye. Beneath it lay a folded sheet, its ink bald with time, unmistakably Franklin's hand. The buried truth that birthed our liberty lies beneath the flame that freed it. Seek the covenant, where the stones remember their fire. They froze. Even Marcus, usually the first to joke, said nothing. Only the hum of the air conditioner broke the silence. That night at their hotel, they spread the parchment across the bed. The compass needle pulsed faintly, refusing to settle north. Lila's laptop beeped as she triangulated its readings. "It's pointing to Philadelphia," she said. Ethan stared at the parchment, his heartbeat syncing with the compass's silent thrum. The Liberty Bell. The flame that freed it. For the first time, he felt the weight of Franklin's words pressing through history itself. They hadn't just found the secret compartment. They had opened the door the founding fathers never meant to be opened again. Back at campus, the trio transformed Ethan's cramped apartment into a war room of maps, coffee cups, and photocopied letters. The parchment from Franklin's desk lay in the center of the chaos, pinned beneath the brass compass that never stopped trembling, as if it remembered where it wanted to go. Lila hunched over her laptop, the glow sharpening her focus. Franklin's handwriting isn't just cursive, she murmured. It's layered. There are cipher strokes disguised as calligraphy. She zoomed in on the digital scan, tracing small geometric patterns woven into each flourish. These are Masonic runes, and look, they form a substitution code. An hour later, the message appeared on screen, its Latin letters stark and elegant. Beneath the shadow of liberty, truth sleeps. Marcus whistled. Liberty Bell again. Shadow of liberty? That's not a coincidence? Ethan's mind raced. It's more than a clue. It's a location marker. The coordinates on the compass line up with the Independence Hall. Franklin's trail leads straight to the birthplace of America. Over the next week, they devoured everything they could about Franklin's correspondence. Buried among scholarly archives, Marcus stumbled upon something extraordinary. A series of coded letters exchanged between Franklin, Jefferson, and Washington during the final months of the Revolution. The tone was cautious, reverent, and unsettlingly secretive. The flame of knowledge must not consume what it was meant to enlighten. Bury what was found beneath the stones of our freedom, until wisdom outweighs ambition. Ethan read the lines aloud, chills rising. They weren't talking about politics, he said quietly. They They were talking about something older. Marcus nodded, pacing. According to this, he tapped the yellow letter. They found the ancient writings, fragments that survived the burnings of the Library of Alexandria. Lila leaned back, incredulous. You're saying America's founders hid relics from the most famous lost library in history? Not relics, Marcus said. Knowledge. Stuff even they thought was too dangerous to release. Ethan turned to the window, watching the rain beat against the glass. The thought gnawed at him. That liberty itself had been built atop buried truth. Maybe the Constitution wasn't just a political document, he said softly. Maybe it was a safeguard, a way to control what they'd found. That was when he noticed it. The same black SUV parked across the street again. Third night in a row. Headlights off. Engine idling. He closed the blinds, pulse quickening. We're not the only ones chasing this. The next morning, a name surfaced in the research. Dr. Adrian Harlow, a once-renowned historian expelled from academia for selling stolen antiques. His rumored clients ranged from private collectors to foreign intelligence agencies. By the time they booked their bus tickets to Philadelphia, the air between them was tight with both excitement and fear. Lila packed her encryption drives, and Marcus bought a GoPro for posterity. Ethan carried Franklin's compass in his jacket, his faint hum steady as a heartbeat. As their bus rolled into the sleeping city, the spire of Independence Hall cut through the mist. They had come to uncover history's greatest secret, unaware that Harlow's men were already waiting for them among the cobblestone shadows. Snow fell like sifted ash across Philadelphia, cloaking Independence Hall in a muted silence. Street lamps painted halos in the flurries, and the city that had birthed liberty now sat beneath its own legend. Ethan, Lila, and Marcus stood in the courtyard, breath fogging in the cold, staring up at the bell tower silhouette. The compass in Ethan's gloved hand pulsed with a faint golden glow, its needle trembling toward the base of the hall. Inside, the marble floors groaned beneath their steps. Every creak sounded louder in the emptiness. Lila's flashlight beam skimmed over brick and mortar until it stopped on a section of the foundation, unlike the rest. Smoother, older, carved faintly with a symbol, the same all-seeing eye etched into Franklin's compass. Ethan pressed the brass emblem against the carving. The wall vibrated with a deep mechanical hum, as though the stones remembered their purpose. Then, with a hiss of released air, a hidden panel slid aside, revealing a narrow spiral staircase, descending into darkness. The torches along the staircase ignited one by one, casting rippling gold light on the walls. Engraved around them were 13 stars interwoven with Latin inscriptions. Lila ran her fingers along one. Freedom and balance. It's a creed. At the base of the steps stood a heavy iron door, blackened with age. Across its surface was a phrase hammered into the metal, like a challenge. From the ashes of fire, truth will rise. Ethan glanced at his friends. Franklin's words. He wanted us to find this. The door groaned open, revealing a vault vast as a cathedral. The air was still, thick, with centuries of dust. Racks of colonial relics lined the chamber, quills sealed in glass, the original drafts of the Constitution annotated in strange cipher, and in the center, upon a plinth of polished marble, rested a metallic globe, etched with the constellations no modern map had ever recorded. Lila's voice was barely a whisper. This changes everything. But the silence fractured with the metallic snap of a gun safeties being drawn. Footsteps, voices, flashlight beams carved through the gloom. Dr. Adrian Harlow stepped into the vault, his silver hair gleaming under the torches, eyes sharp and fevered. I should thank you, he said, gun trained on Ethan. History belongs to the one who uncovers it, or in this case, takes it. Ethan's pulse hammered. Marcus's gaze darted toward a side tunnel, barely visible in the shadows. He met Ethan's eyes, a wordless signal, then hurled a flare toward the ground. It burst in a blinding blaze, sending light and smoke curling across the vault. Run. They sprinted into the side passage as gunfire cracked, stone chips flying. The maintenance shaft collapsed behind them in a thunderous roar, sealing their escape. Crawling through icy debris, they emerged onto the riverbank, the Delaware stretching before them like a black mirror. Steam rose from their breath, adrenaline burned hot into their veins. In Ethan's backpack, the metallic globe throbbed softly, its constellation shifting, aligning into a new pattern that unmistakably pointed south. Marcus caught his breath. Where now? Ethan turned the compass, watching its needle spin until it fixed on one word etched into the parchment's margin. Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. This isn't about treasure anymore, Ethan said quietly, the wind lifting his words into the night. It's about protecting what they died to keep hidden. Monticello slept beneath a veil of fog, its dome glimmering faintly beneath the silver wash of the moon. Inside Jefferson's study, the air smelled of oak, candle wax, and centuries of secrecy. Ethan knelt beside the ornate desk, running his fingers along the woodwork. The compass in his pocket vibrated softly, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. "There," Lila said, spotting faint indentations on the floorboards, a pattern matching the 13th star emblem from Independence Hall. When Ethan pressed the compass into the center, hidden gears grown to life, the rug rippled upward, revealing a marble staircase descending into darkness. They exchanged one look, awe and fear entwined, and then stepped down. The passage wound deep beneath the estate, the air thick with mineral dust and the faint hum of unseen machinery. At the end lay a marble door veined with gold, covered in Jefferson's handwriting and geometric engravings. When Ethan held up Franklin's compass, the line shimmered blue, unlocking a mechanism older than the Republic itself. The chamber that opened before them pulsed with a soft, seared light. Scrolls, tablets, and sealed codices rested in crystalline cases, preserved by time and technology centuries beyond their era. Symbols of Alexandria, the owl, the sun disk, the open flame, it all adorned the walls. Lila's voice trembled. This is everything. Philosophy, science, lost languages. The founders found the Library of Alexandria. Ethan felt the weight of history pressing on him, the very truth that birthed liberty. Franklin's words had not been a riddle, they were a warning. But before he could respond, the echo of footsteps shattered the reverence. Dr. Adrian Harlow emerged from the tunnel with his mercenaries, rifles gleaming under the cold light. "I told you I'd follow," he said, eyes wild with triumph. "And now I'll own what even kings could not." He lifted a small tablet in his hand, its screen showing shaky live footage from the GoPro. "You really should be more careful with what you record," Harlow added smugly. Marcus's eyes widened in shock as the realization hit him. Damn it, I knew that deal was too good to be true. They were bound at gunpoint while Harlow paced among the relics, brushing dust from ancient glass. "Do you understand what's here? I can sell this to nations, rewrite economies, control belief itself. The world will kneel for a price." Ethan's mind raced among the scrolls. One passage he read burned into his memory. "If knowledge is all set by the learner, the path will set itself. Take more than you are ready to bear, and all shall fall to dust." It wasn't a metaphor, it was a mechanism. A failsafe, feigning desperation, he said. "Wait, there's more. A second vault, deeper, riches beyond this. The next clue's in that shelf." Harlow turned, sneering. "Which one?" Ethan pointed. "The gold spine book, third from the right." Harlow yanked it free, gears rumbled within the walls, but only halfway. "Wrong one," Harlow hissed, pressing the gun to Ethan's chest. Ethan swallowed. "Sorry, it's the next one." The moment the second book left the shelf, a deafening shriek of metal tore through the chamber. Columns splintered, dust erupting like smoke. "What did you do?" Ethan met his gaze calmly. "I learned from the founders. No one man should own the truth." The ceiling buckled, ancient stone fractured. Ethan slashed his bindings with a shard of glass and pulled Lila and Marcus toward a narrow vent they spotted earlier. The vault imploded behind them in a roar of collapsing history. Harlow screams, lost in the avalanche of his own greed. They crawled into the night, gasping as Monticello's hillside caved in under the moonlight. The stars shimmered faintly above, indifferent and eternal. Ethan turned back to the ruin, voice low. "Some things," he said, "are meant to stay hidden." The compass in his hand went still, its light fading at last. Days later, the trio sat in silence beneath the marble dome of the National Archives. Above them, sunlight filtered through the rotunda skylight, casting a soft golden glow over the parchment that had defined the nation. The Constitution rested behind its protective glass, eternal, untouchable, and now, to them, a secret keeper. News outlets called the Monticello cave-in a geological collapse. The FBI sealed the site within hours, citing structural instability and unauthorized trespassing. To the world, it was just another forgotten accident in Virginia's old hills. But for Ethan, Lila, and Marcus, the truth sat quietly between them, unspoken, immense, and heavy as history itself. Marcus leaned back on the bench, eyes tracing the arches above. "You were bluffing, right?" he said finally. "About the second vault? The one with gold and relics?" Ethan didn't answer right away. His gaze lingered on the Constitution. The words, "We the people," glowing faintly under the museum lights. The parchment seemed alive, sank older than any of them had ever truly understood. "No bluff," he said at last. I read about it in one of the Alexandria scrolls before Hollow's men showed up. A companion vault. The founders split the archives. Knowledge separated from power. Two halves of the same truth. Lila frowned, twisting the silver ring on her finger. And where exactly would something like that be hidden? Ethan tilted his head upward, watching the sunlight halo around the bronze statue of Liberty that dominated the atrium's edge. The compass in his coat pocket throbbed once. Faint, insistent, alive again. He whispered, New York, where freedom was meant to shine brightest. For a long moment no one spoke. Outside, the low hum of the city pressed faintly through the stone walls, like the heartbeat of a civilization still chasing the same ideals Franklin, Jefferson, and Washington had once risked everything for. Marcus chuckled, breaking the stillness. So what now? Another chase? Another set of riddles buried under tourist attractions? Ethan smiled, not entirely joking. Franklin once said knowledge is like lightning. It must strike the right place. Maybe it's time we see where it leads next. Lila met his eyes, the exhaustion of their ordeal still shadowing her expression. But beneath it, something else. Curiosity. If we do this again, she said softly, we do it smarter. No more near-death history lessons. Marcus grinned. Deal. But next time I'm bringing better snacks. They rose together, the echo of their footsteps blending with the quiet reverence of the hall. Outside, Washington, D.C. was stirring, traffic rumbling, flags stirring in the wind, the city alive with the illusion of certainty. As they stepped through the archive's grand doors into the pale light of dawn, the first flakes of snow began to fall, soft, silent, fleeting. Behind them, the Constitution gleamed under its glass, the words shimmering as though whispering across time. Freedom is the treasure, but only those who seek truth are worthy to find it. Deep beneath Monticello's collapsed hillside, sealed behind marble and memory, the vault of the founders slumbered again, protecting the past, waiting for those brave or foolish enough to chase the lightning once more.